I'm Joe Johnston, and I am talking today with Roger Christian.
I'm very honored to meet Joe for the very first time here today. You were on the other side of the pond.
Yeah.
And
we never crossed over.
No.
George never sent us over there.
There was no money.
No.
We started with George in August in a tiny studio. All we kept thinking, how in the hell can we make this film for $4 million? Yeah. That's all we had.
I started in August of '75 as well.
Yeah.
And there were 10 employees in this warehouse in Van Nuys. We had to have everything that we were going to send in the front office's hands by 5 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Right.
And it was usually a stack of, blueprints and sketches and some photographs. And Gary would come by and pick it up, or somebody would take it to him. He'd fly over, give you the pouch.
And John Barry would open it, and we go, oh, my God.
Right. How are we supposed to do this? I had graduated as an industrial design major in '75. I actually didn't graduate, but I left because I figured I had learned everything I needed to learn.
Oh, we have things in common.
Yeah. And I went by Cal State Long Beach to pick up my senior project. And I saw this flyer on the wall. It said, we're looking for model builders and draftsmen and artists to work on a space movie. The job was basically for 6 weeks, and they wanted someone to draw storyboards. I didn't know what a storyboard was when I started. I researched it very quickly and determined that I could figure that out. But then it became more design and building and stuff, So it was a 6-week job turned into about 10 years.
I just finished a movie in England, and it was April. I remember it snowing and horrible, and this call came and said, could you come to Weymouth immediately? John Barry needs help on this film, Lucky Lady. I was dressing a salt factory, which is an old, where they used to transport the salt. And this car arrives, out gets George in his plaid shirt, jeans and sneakers, and Gary with a cowboy hat.
He still has that plaid shirt.
Yeah. No, he does. He only had 2 we worked out for the shoot.
Yeah.
He came across and said, oh, I'm George Lucas, and this is Gary. And he said, I'm trying to make a science fiction film. And I said, well, that would be good. And I said, I remember telling him, and I said, my opinion, I imagine spaceships like a car that's been used, and it's in the garage and it's dripping oil. It should be real. And he said, well, that's what I'm trying to do. And he was looking at the set I was trying to dress, and the paint was peeling off. And he helped. Actually, he was shoveling salt with me while we were talking, which is typical George.
Yeah.
He said, you've been offered the film. If you want to set decorate it, you just got to be in London on August. I think we were starting on the 15th. The Millennium Falcon was the big one because we could only afford half of it. Plus, that had to be full size. So that was a huge deal, that one. And that got drawn up from the model. The model came first, which is very unusual. It's not normally how you do it.
No, the model was actually built before I had time to even... they had started it before I had time to finish sketching it. So that's why there are no sketches of the ship itself. There's only sketches of the details.
Right.
Because I was doing these very rough thumbnails, and they had started building the model from that because we had no time. Because we had the ship that was the Millennium Falcon completely built.
Right.
That became the Rebel blockade runner.
Right.
But when Space 1999 came out, George saw that ship, the Eagle.
Right.
He said it's too close to Han Solo's ship. We need a new design for Han Solo's ship. It should be as far from that sort of long pointed ship.
Right.
And he basically said it can be anything, just make it as different as possible. He says, I don't even care if it looks like a flying saucer.
Oh, really? And that was it?
I didn't want it to look like a flying saucer, so I added all these, it was a saucer shape.
Right.
But it had all these other things coming off of it that broke the saucer shape.
So then it was drawn up by the draftsman exactly to that model, because they said, this is what's going to be shot, so you've got to duplicate that full size. That got built, and then when they saw pictures of the finished real one, there was probably, yeah, you took a piece off, but there's glue that made a funny shape on the Millennium Falcon, and that got built in as part of the set. So they all said, oh, you built in our mistake.
Right.
And it was too late. Then we were going to camera. George had me direct 6 weeks of second unit on Return of the Jedi, and that's had a huge impact on my life because that kicked me off.
I worked for George for 10 years and was ready to leave and go off and do something else. And I actually just wanted a vacation because, you know, when you work for George, you don't get any time off.
Yes.
At all. And I went to George at the end of Return of the Jedi, and I said, George, I'm gonna wrap it up. You know, I don't want to ever see another visual effect. I'm gonna go do something. I'm gonna travel and spend some of the money that I haven't been able to spend and just have a good time. He says, wouldn't you rather go to film school? I said, I feel like I've been in film school for the last 10 years, but you know, he says if you will go to USC, I will I'll keep you on half salary. I'll pay your tuition. And I realized that if I didn't do it then, I never was going to do it. I was 34 years old, and you know, it was sort of the crossroads for me. So I went and I made a short film, a 9-minute black and white film. A couple of months later, a friend calls me and he says, hey, Disney has fired their director on this film. Get your reel and come over here and, you know, and show it to him and interview. I said, I don't have a reel. All I have is this crummy black and white 9-minute film. So I went, I met Katzenberg and his guys, and showed them this film. She talked about the script, and they called me 2 days later and said, we want you to make the film. I said, I cannot believe that you are hiring me on the strength of that 9-minute film. He said, no, we didn't understand the film at all. But, you know, I called George, and he said, yeah, he can probably do it. Give it a chance. And that was, at the time it was called Teeny Weenies. It became Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Right.
So, you know, I feel like if I hadn't met George and hadn't, you know, seen that flyer on the wall at Cal State Long Beach, I might be designing some really interesting water softeners and washing machines and things, but I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So
there's a true success of George is he's a very much cares about his family, and he's maintained exactly the same. He's the same now as he was when I knew him as a young student, really.
Yeah, he has the same plaid shirt too.
Yeah, same shirts, yeah.
Roger, it's been great to meet you after 40 years.
Yeah, you too, I know, because your name resonates.
Well, so does yours.
And
so does yours.
It's funny how we all go on our paths of destiny and stuff.